public hearing is to consider the rezoning of 205 South Prospect Street from an R3 high-density urban residential to a PF public facilities. Mr. Mendel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This request is from the Medina County Historical Society. They are the recent purchasers of this property at the end of 2019. This is called the McDowell Phillips House. They requested a rezoning of the property from R3 to PF. The John Smart House here across on the other side of Friendship is zone PF as well. So that's kind of consistent with the existing zoning status of their other property. This went in front of the Planning Commission on March 12th, and Planning Commission reviewed it in a public meeting, reviewed the applicant's request and staff's report, and recommended the requested rezoning to the City Council, recommended approval of the requested rezoning. In your packet is all the stuff has been provided through the RCA, the full Planning Commission process, and record. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the rezoning? Is there anybody on Facebook up there? Any comments? Nothing? Okay, is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition of the rezoning? Hearing none, the public meeting is closed. I'd like to call this May 11, 2020 council meeting to order. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Heffinger.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Coin.
Here.
Hazeltine.
Present.
Reading of minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
I move to approve or make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 27, 2020 as prepared and submitted by the clerk.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Will the clerk please call the roll on the approval of the minutes?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Reports of standing committees.
Or
Finance
secretary.
met prior to council this evening and will again meet in 2 weeks. Health, Safety, and Sanitation, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've had no meetings scheduled. Thank you.
Public Properties, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled, no report this evening.
Special Legislation, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled and nothing to report.
Streets and Sidewalks, Mr. Heffinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled, no report this evening.
Water and Utilities, Mrs. Hazeltine.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled and no report at this time.
Emerging Technologies, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled and nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Requests for council action. We have several for finance. 2092 budget amendments. 2093 advance request, Mechanics Fund. 2094 transfer request, Board of Building Standards. 2095 expenditure for server refresh, Municipal Court. 2096 accepting grant, Ohio Body Armor Program, Police Department. 2097 fiscal year 20 CHIP grant program application. 2098 increased PO 2731 Zashin and Rich Law Department. 2099 expenditure over 15,000 CXT Inc. Parks Department. 2100 discuss comprehensive plan update, RFPs received. 2101 then and now Municipal Court Pioneer Technology Group. 2102 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program for the Police Department. 2103 agreement with Euthanetics Inc. Gates Mills Bridge Replacement. 2104 amend Salaries and Benefits Code 3103 and 3116 Pay Scales and Healthcare. 2105 various amendments to the Salaries and Benefits Code pertaining to union agreements. 2106 bid acceptance for Lindenwood Lake Dam improvements. 2107 purchase of a 2020 F-Series SD F350 with utility service body for the Water Department. And 2108 exemptions to planning to zoning code pertaining to outdoor dining during the COVID-19. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hanwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the COVID-19, the City Hall continues to have limited access. We ask that appointments be made, if at all possible, for staff. Any items that may be submitted electronically or mailed or preferred. We do have a box at each of the vestibules if persons would like to leave mail for any department within the city hall here, we check those periodically through the day, and then we'll distribute the mail versus having to have somebody come in. If somebody does need to come in, we have the phone numbers on the doors, and if they simply call the department they need to come into, we will meet them at the door, take care of what their needs are, and then let them back out. Under the governor's orders, the hair salons and barber shops are slated or permitted to reopen on May 15th of this week. Restaurants on that same date are permitted to provide outside dining, and we have an item on the agenda to open up some of the approvals of the city so that we can help get some of the outside dining permitted a little quicker than our normal processes. Restaurants then may provide limited indoor dining, which we understand to be 50% of the occupancy of the restaurant, but also have to have social distancing and or partitions or something to separate the individual booths and tables. All of the above will require proper social distancing, disinfecting, and limited capacities. And the city of Medina is working with the cities of Brunswick and Wadsworth, as well as Medina County, on a coordinated opening up of the public buildings together, either late May or early June. We're still working our way through that. Just south of City Hall here, towards Liberty Street, the new parking deck is being erected. This was supplemented by a $1 million capital grant from the state of Ohio, funded because of our historical downtown and numerous events and activities that we have that draw visitors from a broad region. The deck costs about $3.8 million, so the city is loaning or fronting the remaining $2.8 million. The city established a tax increment finance district for areas adjacent and surrounding the parking deck that will benefit from it. The west upper floor of the parking deck was poured with concrete. That would be the side closest to Elmwood. And the eastern side will likely pour. That had to sit for at least 2 weeks. And then shortly thereafter, the western portion will be poured. We expect the project will last until near the end of June for completion. I'd like to encourage the residents to complete the U.S. Census. Many of the grants and federal programs that are awarded are based on the census, so it's important that our residents are counted and to better our chances for some of these state and federal grants. South Broadway Street is under construction. This is one of the 2 brick roads we have in the city. So the area between Grant Street and Lafayette Road is closed for reconstruction, and this will be closed for several months, and this was partially grant funded. And then last but not least, the center block crosswalks went out to bid for Medina Square, and these are going to have flashing lights where when you push the button, the lights flash to draw attention to the crosswalk, and it's our hope and prayer to make the crossing safer. And the project's $106,000 total. $70,666 of that was a capital grant, again from the state of Ohio, and $35,334 local dollars, which is like a 2/3, 1/3 match. And we're confident this will enhance safety with the downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huber, Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Durham, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. The income tax filing deadline was pushed back, which will cause a major hit to the city's income tax revenues in May. We get the money each month that Rita collected the prior month. So normally in May we would be getting all those year-end filings. We won't be getting those this year in May, but we should get them later in the year. And everyone remember that you do still have to file taxes, just not till July.
Thank you, Mr. Mendo, Planning Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you. I just want to remind folks that our 2020 concrete street repair program is underway. This repairs various sections of concrete pavement in all 4 wards. We appreciate the public's cooperation and while they're traveling through the work zones.
Thank you, Chief Kinney. Police Chief.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Mrs. Marshall, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report. Thank you.
Thank you. Notices, communications, petitions, we have none. Unfinished business, we have none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during the portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments should be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there's a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the front right microphone or the rear right microphone. State your name and address to be entered in the minutes. And members of the public afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority of council members present. Is there anybody on Facebook that has any questions? No? Okay. Introduction and consideration of ordinance and resolutions. I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings on the following ordinances and resolutions. Resolutions 8620, 8720, 8820, 8920, 9020, 9120, 9220, 9320, and 9420.
Move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings.
Second?
Any discussion on suspending the rules on the aforementioned motions, resolutions, and ordinances? Will the clerk please call the roll on suspending the rules of 3 readings on the resolutions and ordinances?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Resolution 8620, a resolution authorizing the application of grant assistance from Medina County Drug Abuse Commission, McDAC, for narcotics enforcement.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause requested I move to add at this time.
My second includes the emergency clause?
Discussion on the emergency clause and a resolution. Chief Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for a grant request from the McDAC. It is for 2 school resource officers in the amount of $179,398.14.
Thank you. Any
The-
further? Oh,
Sorry. The emergency clause has been requested. The deadline is due, or I'm sorry, the application is due May 15th.
oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Any further questions or comments on the emergency clause and the resolution? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Resolution 86-20 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 8720, ordinance amending ordinance number 2720 passed February 10th, 2020 relative to the payment of to Absolute Construction for private home rehabilitation at 533 South Broadway as part of the fiscal year 18 CHIP grant program.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion, Mr. Mendel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is the result of a change order request. This, as it was approved back in November for $33,000, there is a change order to increase a change order of $4,524 to increase the PO to $37,524. This is for a project at 533 South Broadway here in the city of Medina, and the emergency clause is requested in order to pay the contractor as soon as possible so that they can have the capital to continue bidding on CHIP projects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
I did not realize the emergency clause was on the next page, but I do need to amend my motion to include the emergency clause.
And my second included the emergency clause.
Any further discussion on the emergency clause and or the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on adoption of the emergency clause?
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Ordinance 87-20 passes 7-0.
Resolution 8820, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an economic development TREX transfer form from the Division of Liquor Control for property located at 665 Lafayette Road, Medina, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Marshall?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is to authorize the mayor to execute an economic development Trex transfer form from the Division of Liquor Control for the property located at 665 Lafayette Road, which is known as Diner 42. This is to transfer D1, D2, and D3 class liquor permits to the city of Medina from another jurisdiction. This business is outside of our community revitalization district. The applicant feels that they are at a competitive disadvantage without having the opportunity to offer beer and wine and those kinds of things as other restaurants have it, and so they're not able to get as many customers. And so once the restaurants start opening back up and he's able to secure this permit, he is hoping that he'll be more competitive. So this site used to be the Lantern, which also had a liquor license at that time.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Resolution 88-20 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 8920, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Medina County Soil and Water Conservation District for performance of items related to the city's MPDES stormwater permit.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. For many years, we've been required by the EPA to obtain and then maintain our NPDES stormwater permit. It's an annual permit. There are very specific requirements in that permit. We've used the Medina County Soil and Water Conservation District to assist us with several specific items that are required by the permit, and this MOU will allow that to continue moving forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Ordinance 89-20 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 9020, an ordinance amending ordinance number 18719, passed November 25th, 2019, amendment to the 2020 budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. With your permission, I'd like to discuss this and the next two ordinances at once because they're all interrelated.
Yes, that'd be fine.
This is the budget amendments. The first two, there's a misprint. The first two are to repay advances. The third one is a new advance to the mechanics fund. And then the last one is a transfer to the Board of Building Standards Fund. The first two are repayments of advances. And as said, those advances, as we discussed at Finance, were from the General Purpose Capital Fund to the Water Capital Fund and the Fire Capital Fund, and then the other two are as discussed. And then, and the next two ordinances are to authorize the transfers and advances that these finance.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or comment on ordinance 9020? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of ordinance 9020?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 90-20 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 9120, an ordinance authorizing the finance director to make certain fund advances.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion beyond that what Mr. Durham noted? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of ordinance 9120?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 91-20 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 9220, an ordinance authorizing the finance director to make certain fund transfers.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on adoption of ordinance 9220?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 92-20 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 9320, an ordinance replacing sections 3103 and 3116, sections 1A, B, and C of the Salaries and Benefits Code of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to the salary schedules for employees not covered under the current contracts for the years 2020, 2021, 2022, and group hospitalization insurance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and the ordinance. Mayor Hanwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the city negotiated with our Teamsters Union and our three police unions, and what this ordinance is asking the council to do is pass along the same wage increases that were awarded to the union employees to the non-union employees. Those were 2.5% for 2020, 2.5% for 2021, and 2.75% for 2022. In addition to that, some modifications were made in all 4 collective bargaining agreements to increase the share that the employees are paying for their health care premiums. It had been 16% if you weren't taking part in the wellness program that the city has. That increases to 20%. And it was 12% if you were taking part in wellness, and that increases to 13%. There's also a provision that the 13% premium contribution in 2020 could raise to 14% in either 2021 or 2022 if the healthcare benefits for the city increase by 1% or greater.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. The reason for the emergency clause is that the finance department would like to expedite getting these in place so that they can do it uniformly, the back pays as well as the retro pays for the premium contributions from the months prior.
Thank you. Is there any further comment or discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Ordinance 93-20 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 94-20, an ordinance authorizing the exemption to sections 113304, 113505, 113704, and Chapter 1153 of the City of Medina Planning and Zoning Code to permit administrative approval of conditionally permitted outdoor dining areas for existing restaurants during the COVID-19 pandemic statewide restrictions until the statewide restrictions are lifted, or December 1st, 2020.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and the ordinance. Mr. Mendel?
Thank you, Mr. President. As the ordinance description outlines, this is an effort to help our local restaurants get back up into operation and business. And right now, outdoor dining is a conditionally permitted use in the zoning code sections that you outlined. That process is at least a 3-week process between application and going in front of the Planning Commission for review. So in order to not have that time delay, the administration is requesting this exemption during this period, either the state restrictions or December 1st, 2020, to allow administrative approval of outdoor dining areas for existing restaurants that want to start implementing that coming this Friday, May 15th. This is just exempting people from the Planning Commission, the conditional zoning certificate review process. This does not exempt or totally deregulate the operation of outdoor dining. You still have to do an occupancy permit and follow all applicable regulations in the zoning code and throughout the rest of the municipal code. Thank you.
Thank you. And the bright spot is I don't think this Friday we'll have to wear winter jackets to eat outside, so that's a good thing. Is there any further discussion or
Wishful
comment on the
thinking.
ordinance or the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Ordinance 94-20 passes 7-0.
Council comments. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. Just want to thank everybody for their efforts of helping out where your help is needed for the local food drives, watching out for your neighbors, and helping taking care of the elderly that live by you or are related to you. And the only other thing I can tell you, it's nice to see people starting to get out and about. I see so many people out walking when the weather permits, and Been driving through the parks. There are people walking in the parks, and it seems like everybody's is using the social distancing, and I'm sure all of us appreciate that. And the only other thing I want to say is just remember, especially in this time, to be kind to one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional council comments?
Sure.
Mrs. Hazeltine?
As always, I love Medina. I love us as a community. We have definitely, we always show up and we always show out when it comes to things like this. So thank you to everyone for your efforts during COVID-19. And I also want to make the exciting announcement that Councilman Lamb and I will be hosting a series of Facebook Live programs called Coffee with Bill and Jess. So look for that on my Facebook page for City Council if you would like to join Bill and Jess for coffee. We can answer city questions. We can talk about anything. It is just something Bill and I like to do, and we're going to share it with you guys because we want to open up to community discussion because that's what we're here for. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comments? Mr. Lamb?
No. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield my time to Councilman Simpson. So I can hear I can hear him speak about kindness again because it is good to hear. Yeah, as I keep saying, thank you.
The only comment I have is this Wednesday, believe it or not, we're going to have a budget meeting. We'll be here. I hope everybody's excited about it, so please tune in. These are very exciting times, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have food, though, because that would probably be a bad thing of sharing food. You can bring your own granola bars if you'd like, but we won't have food. And the budget meeting's this Wednesday. It'll be here at 5:30. It's the water department's the first one, so Nino gets to lead us off. So with that said, everybody stay safe and healthy, and have a good evening. The meeting's adjourned.
Bill, is Maggie?